Over 40% of Americans don't have enough to retire. They'll run out of money. All right, so we're going to look at this study from EBRI. I love EBRI, Employee Benefits Research Institute. Big fan, long time, first time. Finney's out there is catching some sun. I take big, and I look, Jack Vander Hay or High, big fan of his. I take big issue with their conclusion here. Not their conclusion. I don't know. I don't take issue with their conclusion. I take issue with their setup. And hold on a second. We gotta get this guy, and I'll share with you why. Anytime you see an article like this or a study, you got always the first thing you got to come to mind is based on what? Based on what exactly? And you always got to know that. Because if you don't know how they're modeling it, it's kind of like the climate change silliness. If you don't know what the models are based on, you don't know. Literally, it's not worth this. It's not worth anything. So, if you don't know what they're modeling it on, that's what I'm saying. Not that the study is not worth anything. The model. And so we're just going to go down here real quick. They say RSPM is a retirement security projection model. Finds that 40.6% of all U.S. households where the head of the households between 35 and 64 are projected to run short of money in retirement. All right, so I want to show you, okay, well, that sounds great, but what's that based on? So we scroll down here a little bit. We say right here. A household is considered to run short of money if aggregate resources in retirement are not sufficient to meet average retirement expenditures. Okay, that makes sense. They don't have enough resources to meet their expenditures. But their expenditures are what exactly? Defined as combination of deterministic expenses from the CES Consumer Expenditure Survey as a function of age and income, and some health insurance and out-of-pocket health-related expenses, plus stochastic expenses from nursing home and home health care, at least to the point such expenses are covered by Medicaid. What the hell does all that mean? We're going to use a consumer expenditure survey as an function of age and income. I get that. We can go real quickly. I had a juice, so I could come in here to charge up the laptop. Again, we're going to use a consumer expenditure survey. It gives you an idea. This is from 2005. Single women spent 20, all single females. Let's go females 65 and older. This is 2005. They spent $21,000. I mean, that's 18 years or so ago, so we don't use that. But that's the consumer expenditure survey. Literally, they spent $2,400 on food. You can see, I talk about this all the time. That's what the CES is, which is what the EBRI, the study, the RSPM, is basing it on. Fun, huh? This again, 2005. It's every year. I love this stuff. We got 2012, 2013, 2009. We got them all. It's great. Here's 43,000 total ages 65 to 74. Income before taxes 42. Again, so this is what this study is based on. It's not 2005, obviously, but about the numbers. I think it's this right here. Nope. Hold on a second. Let me find this thing I was just reading. Yeah, is based on this consumer expenditure survey. What I just shared with you for whatever years they're using. All right. So it's a combination of deterministic expenses from the CES as a function of age and income. And this is the big one. Some health insurance and out-of-pocket health-related expenses, plus stochastic expenses from nursing home and home health care, at least at the point of such expenses are covered by Medicaid. Whew. This version of the model is constructed to climate change model is constructed to simulate, not factual, simulate, and I don't have any qualm with it. I'm saying based on their models, their conclusions correct model to simulate retirement income adequacy. Alternative versions of the model shows similar analysis for replacement rates, standard of living calculations, and other ad hoc thresholds. All right, so I'm sitting there thinking, wow, that's a lot of information going in, and then what we're going to use to say the baseline version of the model used for this analysis assumes all workers retire at ages 65. Okay, that's a pretty significant assumption. That they immediately begin drawing Social Security and defined benefits of plans, if any, and to the extent that the sum of their expenses and uninsured medical expenses exceed their projected after-tax income from these sources, immediately begin to withdraw money from their individual accounts. If there is sufficient money to pay expenses without tapping into tax-qualified individual accounts, those balances will be assumed to be invested in a non-tax advantage brokerage account. All right, so 2010, they describe how households are tracked through retirement age and how their retirement income wealth is simulated for the following components. But I mean, I love all that stuff. I love this stuff. I love it. But how can you concoct a baseline and use that to make a projection that most people in the media are going to stick to and say, oh my goodness, when you're assuming it, everyone works till 65, they immediately begin drawing Social Security. And then they have this, I hate to say it, but ad hoc stuff relative here. That might not be the right terminology. I don't know. Because stochastic and ad hoc, they mean different things for different people. I think ad hoc is just kind of just thrown out there, seeing what sticks. But it might not be in terms of pure statisticians. I don't know. Anyway, but they're saying some health insurance and out-of-pocket, health-related expenses, expenses from nursing home. I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I'm going to show we don't know what it means. But I do know if we go here, we're going to go down to, did I ever say it? Yeah. Long-term care support for older Americans at risk of financing research. And they're using this study right here again as part of their evidence that people could have significant health care costs. But the problem I have with this is as the United States population ages, a higher proportion of individuals will likely need and use long-term service and support. Most Americans who receive formal LTSS pay out of pocket. For those with longer spells, they may pay out of pocket until they qualify for Medicaid. Anyway, so the point being is that, so we're using long-term care service and support relative to the RSPM, retirement security projection model, but we don't define that here. At least I can see it's not defined. How much is used? How much is used for that? We don't know. I don't know. And I mean, if we go down, we can see there's not many footnotes to say, I mean, they don't have that much here. References. I mean, this is it. So who knows what they're using for that? I don't know. Anyway, so we go back here. We're like, okay. And so then they say, most, let's see, right here. For those, let's see, who likely need to use long-term, a higher proportion of individuals likely need to use long-term services and support. Most Americans who receive formal will pay out of pocket. Okay, then we go to the very beginning of it. We say, check this out. On average, an American turning 65 today will incur $138,000 in future long-term service and support costs, which could be financed by setting aside $70,000 today. All right, well, that doesn't seem that bad, but it gets even better. Families will pay about half of the cost themselves out of pocket. All right, we just talked about that. We just said a few minutes ago that most families, most Americans who receive formal care, will pay out of pocket. Okay, families will pay about half the cost themselves out of pocket. Huh? What the hell's going on? Well, I'll share with you what the reason for this. With the rest covered by public programs and private insurance. While most people with long-term service and support needs will spend relatively little on care, about 1 in 6 will spend at least $100,000 out of pocket for future long-term service and supports. I hope you're making all these connections here. This is huge. It's kind of like once you see the fakeness of various scientific things that have been perpetuated on us, you can't unsee it anymore. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not saying this is fake. They're using numbers that are legit, but it's how they get presented that ticks me off. Once you see the fakeness of various things that happened, 1969, 1973, and it hasn't happened since, you can't unsee it. And you're going to say, wait a second. The first thing is always to ask, based on what exactly? How'd you get through the Van Allen radiation belts? No, we didn't worry about it. You didn't worry about them, but you worry about now. Interesting. Just as an FYI. Oh, we plotted this way around the Van Allen radiation belts. You did, because the astronauts didn't even know if they went through it or not. Kind of weird. Whatever. And they didn't talk much about it, even though before they did. Kind of strange. And now they're talking about it again. Kind of strange. It's almost like we don't have our ducks in a row when we're the perpetuating the challenges. Let's put it that way. All right. I just want to read this again. On average, Americans turning 65 will incur $138,000 in future long-term care service and support costs. Oh my goodness, I don't have that kind of scratch. I only got $100,000 in my portfolio, which can be financed by setting aside $70,000 today. All right. Families will pay about half the cost themselves, with the rest covered by public programs and private insurance. All right, that just kind of scary. You're like, I don't have that kind of scratch. But most people with long-term care services support needs will actually spend relatively little on their care. About 1 in 6 will spend at least 100,000. So again, what's happening here is if we take the average, I'm sure I'm not going to do this justice on how I draw this up. Oh, there's my ruler. What's happening here is you have this huge, but basically 15% are causing the mass amount of the expenditures. 15%. No fault of their own, mind you. Or, they could have been held. I get all that. No one's yelling at these people. The rest of us aren't costing hardly anything. It's less than 25,000 K. But the vast of expenses, but the vast majority is 100,000 K. I mean, so basically what's happening here is whatever. I'm just saying the vast majority of people are not spending more than like 25,000 K out of pocket. But I say a small percentage, in this case 15%, spends more than 100,000 bucks, which skews the average significantly because these people spend so much because there's an unlimited amount they can spend. It's kind of like a stock. A stock can only go down so much. It goes to zero, then you're done. A stock has an infinite higher proportion. You see what I'm saying? So a stock can go to infinity and beyond, but it can't go any below zero. The stock hits zero, is done. Same thing here. All right, so the vast majority of us, 85%, the median expenditure is about 25,000 bucks. I mean, less than 25,000. I can't remember the exact number, but it's not very much. But there is a 15%, not a small size, but relatively small, that spends over 100,000 bucks. And some spend significantly over 100,000 bucks, which skews the averages higher, if that makes sense. Because again, the average income, or we'll just say the average net worth between Josh and what's his name, Bezos. All right, so I have 100,000 net worth. Bezos has, I don't even know what that is. It's 100,000, 100 million. I don't even know what it is. We'll just use that. 100 million. Our average net worth is 50 million. All right. I can't remember what the median is. I think it's 100,000, something like that. But anyway, our average net worth is 50 million. The same thing is happening here. The averages, when you have outliers, they skew the averages significantly to make it seem a lot different than what the true numbers are based on a median. Not a medium, a median. 50% more, 50% less. And again, they say right here, on average, Americans turning 65 today will incur 138,000 long-term care service and support costs. But most people with those needs will spend relatively little on their care. In fact, we look at my book, You Can Retire on Social Security. We bust out my reading glasses. Let me pause it real quick. Own copy. Really, I think I got on sale right now, as a matter of fact. But anyway, you'll see right there. That's expected long-term care costs from 65 to death for those turning 65. This is from HHS. And you can see no expenditures, a significant portion there, less than 25, less, you see what I'm saying? Very little in terms of expected. But then we look at actual, I think I have it someplace in here. 1 second. Look at actual. We say, is there a study that shows the actual expenditures of real life people? And there is, again, from the EBRI. Estimates how much retirees spend on out-of-pocket healthcare expenses after ages 70 until their death. Unlike many other studies, it includes only expenses for healthcare services actually used and is based on self-reported expenses of actual retirees and not just projections for hypothetical individuals. The numbers are adjusted for medical inflation and reported in 2015 dollars. The self-reported expenses are from panel data from the AHEAD, the Asset and Health Dynamics among the oldest cohort of the Health and Retirement Study. All right. The study's not looking at hypotheticals, but actual costs self-reported by actual real-life people. And what is their answer? For the majority of surveyed people, out-of-pocket health expenses are not as high as commonly believed. For those who die at age 95 or later, the median cumulative out-of-pocket expense after 70 until death is about $27,000. The median, 90th 95th percentile of average out-of-pocket expenses for the entire sample size. The median is 2,000. The 90th percentile is 11,000. The 95th percentile is 19,000. That's for everybody. Again, if you live to age 95 and older, the median cumulative out-of-pocket expenses at age 70 until death was slightly above $27,000. Let me repeat. The median total cost for out-of-pocket expenses was set $27,000 for those 70 and older. With the median total cost, with a median annual cost of $2,000. All right. But the out-of-pocket expenses are catastrophic for some. Again, for those who die at 95 or later, the 90th and 90th percentiles are nearly 172,000 or 269,000 respectively. Nursing home expenses are one of the biggest contributors driving the skewness of the distribution. Without out-of-pocket nursing home expenditures, the 90th and 95th percentiles who die at age 95 or later drops to nearly 96,000, 154,000. And that's from, again, another EBRI study that you can find in my book. And the author of that has now moved on to T. Rowe Price as one of the research guys. I forgot his name. It's the Indian guy, if memory serves. Anyway, Banerjee, big fan. So when we're reading these studies, you say, on what basis? And this isn't the bash my man Jack over here. I'm a big fan. But when they're using these numbers, we're saying we project that 40.6% of all households will run out of money in retirement. We got to say based on what? And again, it's based on this information right here, which says, consider running short of money if aggregate resources retirement are not enough sufficient to meet average retirement expenditures, defined as these things you're throwing in there. And I just, anyway, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because people are going to run with that and say, oh my goodness, we're going to run out of money. You better not ever retire. All right. Love your thoughts. We'll see you